Hi everyone, this is AJ. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome to another retro movie review. Today I'm going to be reviewing Planes, Trains and Automobiles. What better day to do this on? Let's talk about it. Okay, so yeah, Planes, Trains and Automobiles. It's probably the greatest film set around Thanksgiving, the American holiday. Now here in the UK, Thanksgiving means nothing to us whatsoever. We don't have it, we don't celebrate it. The idea of Black Friday is in this country now, where there's this mass hysteria and everyone panics and runs to the shops because they're going to get some decent sale items. Does nothing for me, I ignore it, not interested. But yeah, so Planes, Trains and Automobiles, it's a holiday classic. It's, for us over in the UK, it probably feels a lot more like a Christmas film. You can sort of perceive it as though he's trying to get home in time for Christmas, but no, he's trying to get home in time for Thanksgiving. So this film came out in 1987. Here in the UK, we actually got it in the early part of 1988. The film runs for 1 hour and 34 minutes and is written and directed by the great John Hughes. His name is synonymous with the 80s. He's a fantastic director, fantastic writer, and he's brought us such classics as Ferris Bueller's Day Off, The Breakfast Club, Weird Science. He wrote the Home Alone films, the first two, with Christopher Columbus directing. He's fantastic filmmaker. His films are very good, very funny, and everyone has their favourite one. Now, Planes, Trains and Automobiles is a film that I can watch on a regular basis. I'll watch it at least once a year. It's that good. Obviously, it stars Steve Martin and John Candy. Now, Steve Martin plays a sort of a man who works in New York. In advertising, and he wants to get home for the holidays back to Chicago. His character's name is Neil Page, and John Candy plays a character called Del Griffith, who's sort of on the road salesman, who sells bathroom fixings, primarily shower curtain rings. So this film, it introduces you to Neil Page, who's he lives in sort of suburbia of Chicago, you know, normal sort of setting for a John Hughes film. Big house, he's quite well to do in that sense, and he's late for his flight, and he has to go on this rush to get through New York to get to the airport, and you know, these hysterics keep happening, and he has a race with an unlisted Kevin Bacon, which is fantastic, as in Kevin Bacon's like a sort of a cameo in it, and not in you know, not given any name within the film or anything like that. He ends up losing his cab to Del Griffith, and comes to realise when they're at the airport and they're sat opposite each other that this was the geezer that stole my cab. No, you're the geezer who tried to steal my cab, and this sort of thing. So what happens is this journey of events where the two of them, and they're polar opposites. You know, Neil Page is quite stuck up sort of thing, and Del Griffith is an everyman who's very chatty and all this sort of stuff. And they go on this journey of trying to get to Chicago, but yet everything that goes wrong can go wrong for them. You know, planes are delayed, planes are diverted because of weather conditions in Chicago, so they have to get on a train breaks down, they have to go and get a bus to somewhere, they have to sleep over in these dirty rotten motels where their money's been stolen, and all this sort of stuff, all this sort of hijinks come about. It's a very, very funny film. It's a very well written film. And like I said, they're very much two polar opposite characters, and you get this in the performances. You get this sort of, you know, you've got Del Griffith, John Candy's Del Griffith, who's trying very hard to be friendly with Neil Page, played by Steve Martin. Steve Martin sort of is very reluctant to open up to his friendship. He sort of looks down on this Del Griffith as not his type of a person, this sort of thing, and this relationship carries on like this throughout the film. But slowly, the relationship between the characters start to evolve and start to grow. In specific, you see a scene when they're driving along the highway. This is a highway scene, the famous highway scene, when they're on the wrong side of the road and all that. You know the scene. And at this point, you start to see an evolution in their characters, where slightly. Steve Martin's character starts to come down a peg, and at the same time, John Candy's character starts to sort of go up a peg, so they sort of start meeting in the middle. It's very cleverly written in that sense. Now it's easier to write a character dropping down a few pegs than what it is to have a character coming up a few pegs. Sorry if you can hear that sound outside. Someone's doing some work just across the road. But yeah, so it's harder to write the coming up as opposed to the dropping. So it's more noticeable on this side of the character. But there is a shift in both character dynamics at this point. And this is the point in the film where they start to... their friendship evolves into a friendship. And then the scene when they're in the motel room, or Steve Martin's in the motel room, where John Candy's outside, sat in the car that's been caught on fire, and he invites him in, and that's when they both relax in each other's company, and all of a sudden this friendship just forms. And it's the journey, the story. This is the film. The film is a journey. It's a road movie, on the road. Journey movie, trying to get from point A to point B with all this stuff going wrong. But not only that, it's the journey of friendship of these two meeting, and that journey of their friendship, struggling to meet one another, and then eventually they come together like this towards the end of the film. It's a fantastic film. It's got some of the funniest scenes in John Hughes films. I mean, this film, the scene when they're laying in bed together and they're cuddling each other because they're asleep and they don't realise, and where have you got your hand? It's between two pillows. Those aren't pillows. Those sort of scenes, and the scene on the highway with the car setting alight when John Candy's singing along, and and he gets his arms trapped when he's trying to take his coat off, and Neil Page's. It's very, very funny stuff. It's fantastic film. And it's a film that, like I said, I revisit at least once a year. Not generally at this time of year, because like I said, it's Thanksgiving isn't a thing for us here, but that's why I revisited the film now, so I can review it on for this day, for our cousins overseas. But yeah, I'd highly recommend this film to anyone. If you don't get a laugh or an enjoyment out of this film, then there's something wrong with you. It's a very, very funny film. Now, there are a lot of edits made to the film. I know that there's these so-called there were story plot points that were not used within the film and this sort of thing, but that doesn't matter. I mean, knowing about it, I can see it. I can see where these elements would have fallen, like with the wife thinking that Neil Page is actually cheating and all this sort of stuff, but it wasn't needed. It wasn't needed in the film. There's probably a much longer version that could be made, but this film is tight. It runs very well. 134 minutes pass very quickly. It's very funny, and obviously I have to give a shout out to the airport scene, which is the reason why the film's got a 15. The scene I mean, where Steve Martin goes on his rant to a woman behind the desk. Very funny stuff, and the film's got a lot of heart, a very emotional chord to it. That by the end of the film, it can almost bring you to tears when you get the realisation of the predicament that these characters find themselves in, and the realities, the harsh realities of life that come into the fray, which are sort of hinted at throughout the film, and the opening up of that friendship at the end. It's all very, very good stuff. So this is a film that I'd highly recommend. If you haven't seen, you need to watch, because I tell you, you will be going back to it time and time again. It's up there as one of John Hughes' greatest films, and It's as good today as it was the day it came out, if not better. It's a classic. For me, I probably would watch it amongst Christmas films because it is that sort of a era, that setting. But yeah, it's just brilliant, brilliant stuff. Highly recommended. Go watch this film. Put a smile on your face, if nothing else. Anyway, this is AJ. Thank you for watching. If you like that review, please consider hitting the subscribe button and checking out some of my other content. There is a wealth of it. If you leave me a comment, I will reply to all comments. And hopefully I'll see you in the future. Take care all, and happy holidays to you all, whatever you may be doing. Take care and goodbye.